What's up, everyone, and welcome to Variant the Podcast post New York Comic-Con.
Welcome back.
I am back in the great state of Texas.
The Lone Star.
The Lone Star state.
Back from the Big Apple.
Yes.
Since we're going with nicknames. Also, hello, Variant Nation. Welcome back to the show.
Yes.
Arris spent the weekend in New York Comic-Con. I spent the weekend here jockeying. Jockeying from home base. So first off, this was like a crazy con for comic books and like exclusives, and it was like very comic madness.
It was, yeah.
I'm saying more so than like movies and television.
For sure. But everyone even there talking was like, this was way better for comics, at least in San Diego Comic-Con, which it usually always is,
That's
but
normal,
but even more so this year though. Like it was really, this con was like the exclusives con. Like,
oh, dude, it was insane.
Like, no joke, like one booth would have 20 different exclusive. Just one. That's just one. So there, like all in all, there was hundreds to choose from.
That's
Obviously,
crazy.
certain ones became more popular than others, but there was there was two Christopher Reeves foil cover exclusives that I didn't get, and I'm really in hindsight.
I saw them,
in
I was
hindsight.
very curious because I talked to a couple of people that actually got their hands on them.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's see if he nabs one.
They were there. They were actually still there Sunday. I was just, by that time, I was like, it was the busiest con I've ever been to in my entire, like I personally, not the con was really busy, but me personally, I've never been so busy in a Comic-Con. You know, I've been to a lot of Comic-Cons.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
crazy.
like we told you guys last podcast, you hosted the Energonverse panel with Robert Kirkman, Josh Williamson,
yeah, that was fun,
and a slew of others. And it was in one of the biggest rooms at the con. It was a huge panel.
It was a big, it was actually Skybound /Image's biggest panel that weekend, which I found out the day before through one of the contacts at Skybound. I was like, oh, no pressure, because he casually was like, by the way, this is our flagship panel this weekend. I'm like, oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Don't F it up.
Which says a lot, because literally right after that panel in the same room was a Walking Dead anniversary panel. So for this to be big, I mean, it makes sense because it's the first panel that's really launching their Energon Universe, which is a Hasbro licensed property. Because you're talking about Transformers, G.I. Joe, and now Void Rivals with Robert Kirkman, one of the biggest names in TV and comics now at this point. Yeah. Because he's actually working with Jake Gyllenhaal on a movie and stuff. Obviously, The Walking Dead and Vince Vaughn and Prime. So he's one of the biggest writers / creators, kind of sort of, in the pop culture median right now. And he was on that panel, and this panel was bigger than his Walking Dead panel, which is nuts.
It's wild. It was wild. And what they're doing with the Transformers, the Energonverse, is awesome.
It's really cool. It's so, what was really funny? I was telling you earlier, being on the other side of things. So like the fact that I knew because I had to sign an NDA, obviously, because I knew all the reveals that they were going to say that day, and they were briefed, but like being the moderator, you get to pace it, right? You get to like cue it up and be like, okay. And so I'd literally go to Robert and be like, is it time? Should we show it now? He's like, show the slide. And then we reveal like, oh, Baroness is going to be in the next issue. Oh, Hawk is going to be in this issue. Duke is going to first appear in Transformers issue 2. And everyone's like, ah! And it's really, it's really, really cool. Like revealing that the first arc for Void Rivals, which is the funny thing is, I'm genuinely a fan of this. So like
that's what I was referring to. It's like, I'm a fan. It's cool.
So Void Rivals has been so good. If you haven't read it, read it. The first arc is coming to an end, issue 6. So there's only 2 more issues left. So the end of this year, it will be done. It's as the time of shooting this, it's 4 issues in. Issue 6 will be the end, and
which we actually already covered the first 2 issues on the main channel. So you guys can see that on the main variant channel if you want to check that out and get your feet wet. But we're going to be covering issues 3 through 5 in November. So we'll be chasing it on the variant main channel as well. Yeah.
So it's just. So that's finishing up, and they may have teased that they didn't confirm, but I had to kind of push a little bit, like, can we tease? We're gonna see any other solo books? So in 2024, it's kind of implied that we might get other characters besides Cobra and Duke. So maybe Destro or a Scarlet book, or maybe like a Starscream book. It seems like
Starscream would be, that would be cool.
Well, the coolest thing for me, and one of the things that was funny, because one of the questions was asking Daniel Warren Johnson, who he writes and draws Transformers. So he's on double duty. So he's like, essentially, I mean, he's got a color and stuff like that, but he's essentially, as far as writing the story goes, the sole creative on there, which is really interesting to have like one mind going forward on the book. But one of the things he wanted to do is kill Bumblebee out the gate because he hates Bumblebee, apparently. That was it. Because that was one of the first questions. I was like, look, you literally killed one of the most beloved characters in the franchise, so much so this character had a very successful solo film that kind of rebooted the live action Transformers universe. Right. So it's like, and you just, first of all, Hasbro let you do it.
Also, spoilers for Void Rivals. Yeah.
That's out. That's been out.
It has. It's been out for a while, but.
So one, Hasbro let him do that. Two, he's like, yeah, I didn't want to draw him, so I killed him. And he said he was very adamant. He was looking at me when he answered. He's like, he's dead. He's not coming back. He's like, as long as I'm on the book, he's not coming back.
That's messed up because Bumblebee is a fan favorite.
That's what I'm saying. So it's kind of crazy that Hasbro even let it happen.
Yeah.
Because they're like, wait, that's one of our biggest draws. You know what I mean? Like next to Optimus, you got like Optimus, Megatron, and then I would say Bumblebee and like,
Why
Starscream.
Does he hate Bumblebee?
He didn't really say.
What's his beef with Bumblebee, man?
He really didn't say. He just said he doesn't.
You should have called him out right there in front of God and everyone.
It's really funny because
what's your problem with Bumblebee, bro?
It's really funny because later on in the panel, Lorenzo, who's drawing Void Rivals, working on that with Kirkman, said he loves Bumblebee, but since he killed him,
he can't use him.
He can't draw him. So Robert on the panel was like, "Don't worry, I'll do a flashback. You'll be able to draw him."
And he can do it.
Yeah. So I thought that that was really.
What did you think as far, because you went through and you announced all the big reveals at the panel for Transformers and the Energonverse in general. So what did you think was like the biggest reveals from that panel?
The biggest reveal, I think, which was, I'm not sure how, I don't even know if it was, so there was a lot of cool reveals. Duke appearing in Transformers issue 2 was a big one because issue 2 is coming up in about a week or so now. So that was a huge one. Also us getting Despero, Hawk, a lot of those fan favorite G.I. Joe characters. That was a massive one. But one of the biggest ones, or one of the things that I thought was most interesting was the fact that it's kind of common sense, but it was confirmed here that since they're rebooting, Duke in his first issue and Cobra in his first issue live in a world where the G.I. Joe organization and the Cobra organization haven't formed yet. Which is like, oh, if you're rebooting,
that makes sense.
Yeah, but like you could also think that they're rebooting, but G.I. Joe's already established, like the thing, but it's not. So in these books, the G.I. Joe organization and the Cobra organization aren't established yet.
That's interesting.
So you're seeing Duke and Cobra before prior to them being like together and in this organization. So Josh Williamson, who's doing both books and a buddy of ours here at the show, gets to rewrite how those organizations form. And I think that was one of the coolest things for that to be confirmed. I thought that was really cool.
I'm very curious to see how he does it, especially considering they just introduced or teased G.I. Joe in the films.
Yes.
So I'm very curious to see what he introduces into canon for that as far as a new origin story for those organizations. Yeah. I just think it's great that they're reapproaching these universes, these worlds and these characters in a new and a new way that's even a little, I mean, I don't want to say it's more serious, but it's kind of more serious. They're taking a more serious approach to it. Like it's got more messaging to it. It's
deep. No, there's a lot.
Yeah, the storytelling is much heavier handed.
There's a lot of layers, which is one of the things, while doing it and having them answer the questions and stuff to this. Like this is in for the long haul. And another thing that I could say now is this was in years in the process. Like, so this wasn't just like we're going to do this, whatever. Like Robert Kirkman has been talking to Hasbro for like around 3 years.
Right.
Which is crazy. So it's awesome that like they held it off this long and even just kind of threw it in the first issue without telling anyone this is a universe. Yeah. And now everyone's loving it. Like the panel there was like 400 people in that room.
Dude, and they're demonstrating some of the things that, as far as like how to sell comic books, how to drop comic books, how to bring out reveals and what to hold back. They're demonstrating a lot of the stuff that you and I have complained about what the big two, the tendencies they have
And that's
for
all
spoiling their own comic books before they even drop and so on.
And that's like hats off to Robert Kirkman and Sean Makowitz, who's one of the head publishers and stuff there. Like those two spearheaded it together and were very like, no, we're going to keep this close to the chest and we're just going to, they're still like that. Like literally, Robert's so funny because the whole time, like he hates spoilers. He's not a fan. Like even when issues drop like that, like on a Wednesday, he still doesn't like talking about it. He likes to let it breathe a little bit. So the whole time, even when like I wasn't directing a question towards him, he would have his mic like right up to his mouth, like
ready.
And he said he's like I'm right here, especially with Josh because Josh apparently has loose lips, if you will.
I wonder.
So he's
he's working with Scott Snyder. I can't imagine.
So the whole time, Robert's just like he's like I'm right here. I'm right here but like it was funny. They got into like a fun argument because he hasn't been able to talk about Duke for so long. And Josh was like, Robert, it's time. We have to talk about it. It's time. We have to talk about Duke. There's slides already. So they showed like the first few pages of Duke. I was able to show the first few pages of Cobra, which is also really cool. So that's a big thing too. So one of the big things is they got to see, if you were at the panel, I got to run and show the first 4 pages of Cobra and the first 3 or 4 of Duke. So you got to see,
awesome.
Which is really, really cool. Cobra is going to be a fun book. If you can now, it's public, so you can like Google it if you guys want. You know, Cobra, Skybound. You can see the first several pages. It's going to be almost like a horror kind of book. Like,
oh, that's interesting.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it, but I didn't. I mean, you could tell it's darker. That's kind of what I meant. Saying heavy-handed isn't the right way of saying it. It's a richer approach to the storytelling for these kids because they're building something out that's much broader and also interconnected.
Yeah.
So that is one of the bigger differences here. So, but yeah, going kind of a horror or thriller edge, that would be interesting.
And something really cool that if you were at the panel, you heard. So a lot of the writers, as myself, are like, you know, wrestling fans, right? We watch like a lot of WWE or A&E. And Daniel Warren Johnson, who's doing Transformers, he's a massive wrestling fan. Actually, one of his creator-owned books for Skybound/Image is Do a Powerbomb, which is doing really well right now. Volume 2 is releasing soon. But anyway, that's a wrestling book centered around wrestling. So he had Optimus Prime do a suplex to Starscream in issue 1. So then, and Robert does not like wrestling. So all the creators were getting into it on the stage, being like, he's like, ugh, with the wrestling. And then Josh is like, you know what I'm gonna do? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make Duke give someone the Stone Cold Stunner. And Robert just goes, oh my God. And he's like getting annoyed.
That's funny.
So it was funny seeing that back. It's funny like how he's very much the dad.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he's Robert Kirkman and it's like, you know, he's co-founder and it's his thing. But like, and they're like the kids that are like, you know, I'm going to do this and do that. And he's like, just shaking his head at them.
That's funny. I feel like I would be the Robert Kirkman in the room, unfortunately. Yeah.
But fans
awesome.
are eating it up. But what I think is funny, and I'm saying that for people in the panel, that were at the panel and people listening to this, when you read a Duke issue and you see him do a stunner to someone, now you know that like months in advance, he said at that panel he was going to do it.
That was the birthplace.
Right. So I would imagine it's going to be around issue 3, 4, or 5 because he's already written like the first 2 or 3.
That's pretty amazing. Well, one of the other things that happened at the con that dropped was the Arcbound storyline and comics from Scott Snyder. It was revealed that Tom Hardy is actually partnering with Scott Snyder and Frank Thierry
and Ryan Smallman
to create this new universe,
which is so interesting.
Yeah,
so
it's interesting to see a lot of these actors now getting into comics, like from a writing perspective.
I
mean, we know like why, because so much of this stuff is getting tied to Hollywood now. But
it's a weird thing because celebrities in general have always kind of done comic books. Like Eminem has done a Punisher comic, you know, like, you know, rappers.
These are like full blown. Yeah, it's not one-offs.
But it's weird to see like you said, how involved they are now. You know what I mean? And them actually, not all of them, but like Keanu Reeves with Berserker.
Right.
That's actually like legitimately good comic book.
Yeah.
Like it's really well done.
That's what I'm saying. They're not just like one-off, one-shot stories. They're like series.
Yeah. Some of those Berserker variant covers are some of the like most hot covers you can get right now. Because everyone loves it. It's getting an anime on Netflix. It's getting a live action adaptation. And
it's going to get everything.
It is. And Keanu Reeves. Because basically, I think I was telling a friend, it's basically just John Wick as a superhero. So think of it like kind of amped up where it's like he gets to play that John Wick type, badass character, but now with superpower where he's immortal, so it just gets to amplify everything. So I was like, he's going to have all the fun in the world with that. But Tom Hardy's Scott Snyder, Frank Thierry, and Ryan Smallman's book is really cool too, because the simple premise is like, what if you didn't have to live in your human body?
Right.
Like, what if there was a choice? And then Tom Hardy, I don't want to say to my surprise, I just didn't think, like, he is a very thoughtful human, I would say.
Frank?
Tom Hardy.
Oh, Tom Hardy.
Just hearing him talk about the book. He's very thoughtful. He seems very intellectual. Like, he's well read. I'll put it that way. He seems very well read, where he does his research on anything he's involved with, which makes sense because he was talking about like where he came from acting wise and like the schools he graduated from and how like drama and how he was getting into the whole thing, like what it means to embody a character. And, he's even just very thoughtful too, in the sense where each person he had on the team, you got Ryan Smallman as the artist and then Frank Thierry and Scott Snyder as co-writers, being like, I would never step on anyone's shoes, in the sense that like they're masters at their craft. That's why I'm doing it with them. So like if they know more about this than I do, but at the same time, like I have my certain things that, they've never experienced. So everyone's there for a reason. You got the writers, you got his perspective. He's like, so we all have equal things to bring. So when we put it together, and he just broke it down just so nicely, where I'm like, wow, Tom, you're like, he's not just a celebrity, like, I'm going to do a comic book to make money. Like, he really, you could tell he really wants to do this.
Yeah. Well, he takes that approach with every project he takes on.
Yeah. Like,
he's one of those actors that he does a lot of deep research into his character's world. So if the character's a butcher, he goes and spends time with butchers, and he learns about what it is to be a butcher. He's like that type of an actor, where he really invests himself in his character. A lot of actors do this, but he's very invested. So when you do that, you learn about a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
You really can start getting a well-rounded view of a lot of different things. So
Daniel Day-Lewis became a cobbler.
Yeah, like crazy. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. And he also seems like somebody that would not take on a project unless, similar to Keanu Reeves taking on Berserker. Like that idea spawned from an actual story idea that he had.
Yeah.
He had a meeting with Skybound, and they said, hey, he was looking at it from the perspective of turning it into a film series or a television show. And they said, have you considered a comic?
I mean, Boom.
I'm sorry, Boom Studios.
Yeah, Boom Studios. Yeah.
Skybound, yeah. Boom Studios. And they said, hey, would you, have you ever considered doing a comic? And then he was like, well, yeah. And it's been in the same way. He brought his knowledge, his interests in that story and all of the historical elements and the science portions of it. And he brought that to comic book writers who know how to frame a story in that medium. And it seems like he's doing the exact same thing with Scott and Frank and Ryan.
No, I'm very excited to read it. I haven't read it yet. They had, I believe it was the Ashcan they released at New York Comic Con. But one funny thing I will say about that panel, because I did watch that panel, is Frank Thierry was like, do the Bane voice. And anyone knows Frank Thierry, he's like a very popular, awesome writer, but he's very New York, like stereotypical, like forget about it. Like he's like full blown, like, hey, I'll put you in cement shoes and drop you in the Brooklyn River, like stuff like that kind of like New York. And it's great. Like
it's hilarious.
Like
he is so
like
funny.
The moderator said something that just joking with him, like he made a joke. And he felt bad. He's like, let me give you a hug. Frank Thierry's like, don't touch me. Kind of like that very like New York Italian. It was really, really funny. But he said, Tom Hardy's like, do the Bane voice. And Tom, they're on strike. So he's like, no. Like he couldn't even say it. He's like, no, I can't do the voice. We're on strike.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. The strike is still ongoing.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. But that is a cool series that's coming out. And
Ryan Smallman's art is really good. It looks like a good book.
Everything about it. I mean, the entire team they've put together.
Scott Snyder's
really
right.
strong. Yeah,
he's okay.
He's been around a little bit.
He writes a little bit of things.
But
Love you, Scott.
we'll be keeping an eye on that one too. So that was a very cool. But one of the other things that happened over the weekend is Variant launched its Whatnot shop.
Variant, Whatnot and Whatnot?
Variant and Whatnot.
Variant and Whatnot?
Variant and Whatnot. But yeah, we launched our Whatnot shop over the weekend. Like we told you guys we were going to. That is up and running. You can actually check that out now with our Buy It Now catalog. But we moved our first live show, which was supposed to be yesterday.
Yes.
But we moved that to next week, the October 26th.
26th at
12 noon Central Standard Time.
CST.
And we're going to be, we're actually going to be bringing you guys a one-on-one interview that we got with Rob Liefeld at the con.
Can I just tell you? Can I just say something?
Tell me the truth. Was he on like 17 Red Bulls when you did this interview?
He is the nicest human.
Rob?
I love Rob. He like sometimes, I don't know for whatever reason, sometimes he gets a bad rap or whatnot, but he is awesome. He is so much fun. Like I told you this story already. Like he was running late because Rob Liefeld, he's like the creator or co-creator of like half of the X-Men. It's ridiculous.
I mean, he's the creator and writer of Deadpool. That's really all you need to know to kind of get a feel for his personality.
Domino, Warpath, X-Force, like the list, just it's insane. It's freaking insane, right? So like he's an icon. He's an icon in the industry. Yeah. So like
30 plus years.
Yeah, co-founder of Image Comics. Yeah, like it's crazy. Just anyway. Resume. So clearly when he's at a Comic-Con, he's like, it's like Johnny Depp going outside or something, you know? He's this A-list celebrity at a Comic-Con. So anyway, he's getting stuff. He was late. He was like 40 minutes late. It was like, yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize he was that late.
But it was like totally fine. But anyway, he gets the first thing he says to me. He's like, dude, I gotta piss like a racing horse. And there was a bathroom because we were at his booth. I'm like, there's a bathroom. I'm like, dude, go pee right quick. He's like, no. He's like, I already made you wait long enough. I'm like, dude, no, like literally, I don't have anywhere to be for the next whatever. He's like, just go pee. He's like, no, let's get it done. He's like, what are the questions? What are the questions? So like,
no wonder he was hopping around like a freaking jackrabbit. Oh my God.
So I show him. So I had it on my phone. So I show it.
Literally, the interview was 20 minutes long.
Yeah. Well, I told him. I said this is probably gonna be around like 20, 30 minutes. He said that's fine. So I show him the phone.
Solid bladder control.
Yeah, he just wanted a briefing. So I show him. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to intro you. Then we'll go through like the comics you have coming out, the Captain America homage, maybe some movie stuff, things about the industry. He's like, oh yeah, good. He got so excited. He's like, oh, that's good. He's like, yeah, that's good stuff.
I saw it.
Oh, were they recording for that part too?
Yeah, the whole thing.
Okay, that's awesome.
So I'm watching this setup, and I'm just like, because I couldn't get to New York. Usually, I'm the one there behind the camera.
I didn't know they were rolling.
Jockeying.
Yeah, I didn't know they were rolling for that. That's funny.
So they were rolling, and I was just like, this, and he's like, woo, woo.
Did you get the part where he's like, no, I'm on that side? Did you get that part?
No, that must have been just before.
So it's so funny. I guess he just has to be on the left side. For whatever reason.
His best side is his best profile.
I don't know, but he was like, when I was there, he's like, no, I gotta be on the left side of it. And I was like, all right, you do you, bro. I was like, I'm here for you, dude. I'm here for you. So, but we got into it, and he's just like, it's one of those things. Like, he's an interviewer's best dream in the sense will be like, so you got new books coming out in 2024. And he's like, yeah. And he just goes for 10 minutes. Yes. I have to say it. I just had to cue it up like, boop. And he just hits it out of the park.
There's some interviews like, you guys have watched, I'm sure. If you're a comic fan, you've seen a bunch of interviews with creators. Sometimes as an interviewer, you have to work.
You got to pull it out.
You got to work to get the information, to get the creator, whoever you're talking to kind of get going. But then there's some people that they can just rattle stuff off, and it makes it so much easier if you're the one doing the interviewing, because you can just tee them up and they just run.
Yep.
And Scott is one of those people. Rob is definitely one of those people.
McFarlane is like that as well.
McFarlane is also very much like that. So
yeah,
he's a ton of fun. And
but they're all awesome. They're all great dudes. We've met them all, interviewed them all. But like, what I will say about Rob, his energy is just
it's hilarious,
because it's like, he's just he could tell he's so passionate, and it's like you're hanging out with like just a buddy from like college who's still into surfing and comic books. It's so good.
That's a good way to put it.
Because one of the things, you watch the thing where he said like his kids are like, Dad, like, why are you still doing comic books? Like, why you don't have to do this anymore for obvious reasons. Right. All the stuff he's accomplished, you can retire easily. But he's like, dude, I'm a storyteller. I have to tell stories. Like, I want to tell stories. I just have to get my stories out there, which, as soon as you said that in my brain, I'm like, that's so awesome. It's like, because it's not about the money. Like you could easily retire with all, the success you've already had, but like, you just have to tell a story. You're just a storyteller. You want to draw, you want to write, you want to get your stories out there. And I just love that passion where it's just like someone as successful as him you could be done. He's like, nope, I still have stories to tell and the world needs to know.
And that's what makes him successful,
right? Is
because it isn't just about the money or achieving X, Y, or Z goal. It's about he's got this stuff inside of him and he wants to put it out there.
Dude was on this right before the strike. Obviously, creator of Deadpool. He was on set with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, just shooting it up with them because he created the characters. Yeah. Well, not Wolverine, but
not Wolverine,
Deadpool. So it's just like, it's nuts.
Pretty fun.
Yeah.
So we'll be bringing you guys
watch that interview. You need to watch. I think that. I personally, I don't know. I haven't watched it. I know you watched it.
I did, yeah.
But I personally, while doing it, I'm like, this is probably going to be really good. We're watching it back. Was it good?
It's fun.
It's fun.
It's
Okay,
fun.
because Rob,
Mostly,
Robert,
again, Rob is he's hilarious.
Yeah.
He just goes and goes and goes and goes. But he
did you do the chest bump?
The chest
where we did that?
It was like, you guys will see what it was.
I'm screen capping that and freaking keeping that forever.
We're probably gonna make that the thumbnail. If I'm being honest,
dude. The fact that he did that, I'm like, no way did I just get the Captain America's chest bump with Robert freaking Liefeld. Freaking nerd bucket list check.
Very funny. It was very funny.
I had Comic Tom on the side too.
Did he snap it?
I think he snapped it. I think he was recording, but I see him like glee because he knew what we were doing. He's like, "You did the thing! You did the thing!"
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So that will be in the first live stream, October 26th at 12 o'clock, and we will air the full interview with that. And that will be live streamed not only on Whatnot, but that will be cross live streaming on the Variant YouTube channel.
Crossing the streams?
We're crossing streams,
but
man.
You never cross the streams.
I don't know. Sometimes you just got to see what happens.
Egon told us you never cross the streams.
But when they did.
When they did, yeah.
Magic happened.
That's true.
So sometimes you got to cross streams, But so keep an eye out for that. Make sure you can go to the Variant Whatnot shop, get yourself set up and bookmark the show. Just follow, like, and hit all the buttons.
The last thing I will say of New York Comic Con, I haven't even told you this yet. So this is going to be a first one.
Holding back.
Holding things
back.
I also hosted the Harveys for the second time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot to mention Friday night was the Harveys.
Yeah, Friday night I hosted the Harveys, which for those of you who don't know, it's essentially like if the Eisner Awards or the Oscars or whatever, then the Harveys would be like the Golden Globes. It's like right up, like one of the top 2 biggest comic award shows of the year, right? So every year they have it on a Friday night at New York Comic Con, and I got to do it a second time.
Sandals and
dude, yeah, it's
and flannel shirts.
No. Anyway, I got to do it a second time, and I'm not going to say any names. But I will say one of the icons who is getting a Hall of Fame award. He's up there in years, so I'm presenting the award again. I'm not going to mention a name. And I didn't think he was there because I didn't get to run a show for that like up until like 40 minutes before, right? So they had Marv Wolfman, I believe, doing an acceptance speech on the screen. So we recorded when they were playing it, right? So I cued to that, and I'm sitting there and playing it. I'm going through my notes as he's doing the thing, and then when it's done, I'm like, oh, so said icon or Hall of Famer isn't here, right?
Right.
So. But I gave it a pause because I did it last year. So I kind of already know how this works a little bit. So I had that on my side where I'm like, kind of know the flow of this and I knew all the people already. So I'm like, all right. So I go back to podium. I'm like, I give it like a pause. So imagine like being on a podium and there's like around 200 people out there in this big pavilion in New York Comic Con on the Javits Center, like at the top. So, and everyone's looking at you, right? Because you're freaking hosting the thing. So I'm up there, I pause. And it's done, and I take a pause because I wasn't sure. So I'm like, I'm going to give it like 5-10 seconds for someone to stand up and keep walking. Because I didn't get a chance to ask my showrunner if he was there because we were doing so many things. And that was the one thing I'm like, okay. So
you didn't double check.
I didn't know. So I'm like, I'll just pause a little bit. I'll pretend I'm flipping through my notes. Give this man.
Did you go full Mitch McConnell?
Give this man, no. Give this man notes to... go through notes to give this man time to get up. So I'm flipping through, pretending I'm like, and then in my brain, I'm like, okay, that's enough. He's not here. He's clearly not here. Okay. As I'm about to move on to the next award, said man stands up. Emerges. And then my showrunner, again, I'm not saying any names, was like, he's giving this to me. It full on felt like an elementary school, like, you're the parent and you're telling your kid, no, don't do no. It was like that, like literally. But I'm like, oh, so he's here. So it was just like a little awkward moment and he came up. And I will say, this said person, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. But anyway, he came up and he got his award. And that was my flub.
Everyone in the audience right now is going, dude, who is it?
I'm not naming any names. Because I don't know. I'm just, no.
Well, how long was the pause?
I gave like around 5 or so seconds.
So it was like...
It was enough time.
Someone was hitting the crickets.
It was enough time to be like, if you're in this room, come get your award. come get it.
You just got to repeat the name. You know what I mean? Like you're talking to an elderly.
He didn't, but like at the end of the show, everyone was fine. Like everyone who like, you know, behind the scenes who was on the show, they're like, no, you're fine. He's like, they're like, he's old. It's like, it doesn't matter. You probably didn't hear and all that stuff. They're like, don't even worry about it. Cause I was like, I felt bad. This guy's getting a Hall of Fame freaking award. I'll tell you after.
Stan, are you in here?
Yeah, I'll tell you after. It's
Harvey.
like I'm talking like Chris Claremont level. So now you know it's not him, but like that type of like this guy like redefined genre and characters.
You're narrowing down the list.
Yeah, but he's old. So and they're like, nah, he's old. They're like if you want to, you just go apologize. You'll be fine. I'm like, okay. Everyone was making me because it was
Stanley, everyone. Crickets.
Yeah, but it's like, but I was even saying, I'm like, as a host, like I can't be like, watch, we'll play it out. So video goes off and then me waiting.
Arris Stanley.
Okay, next up, because like how long am I just going to be quiet with like 200 people looking at me? You know what I mean?
Arris Stanley is dead. That's awkward.
Oh my goodness. Dude, but
you survived it.
But but seeing people
overall, the night went well.
No, it went well, and then like again, everyone was like, "No, you're good." Like you know, everyone who put it on, they're like, "No, that stuff happens." It's like you know, whatever.
And the amount of alcohol that's running through bloodstreams at that point easily negates 5 seconds.
It was an open bar.
Yeah, so like no one even noticed.
Even after, like, stay. We got drinks and hors d'oeuvres. Stay. Legitimately, as people like walking around, like,
yeah. Hello.
Would you like some crab
greetings?
I'm like, no, I don't do seafood. Thank you.
That's awesome. It was definitely a very busy weekend for you.
Yes.
Harvey's on Friday
Especially
night.
Friday and Saturday, because Friday night I had that, and then the following morning was the Energonverse panel, which
what I thought was hilarious, and for those of you who I don't know, some of you may have caught this, but Friday night you did the Harvey's, so I'm texting you, and you're like, done, everything's cool. You send me some pictures or whatever. And then you did a Whatnot live show from your hotel room.
I did.
Right after the Harvest. So you're like at the con the whole day doing all this stuff.
No rest.
Then Friday night, host the Harvey's, go back to your hotel room and you do a live stream.
Yep.
I nabbed a couple of books for the giveaway. We're doing a bunch of giveaways at our first live show on the 26th. So
no rest.
I stole a couple of books from you. From that, not stole. I paid for them. Thank you very much.
You paid for them. People were like, "That's not fair." I'm like, "Hey, you're gonna get them for free over there now."
I bought them fair and square, and he didn't know I was doing it, so I did it. It was totally fair. But I'm giving them away, so that's for
free books.
That's for you.
Hey, man,
the people.
No rest. When you're at a Comic-Con,
dude. But you went from that, but it got to be. I don't know. It was freaking late.
I was doing that every night though. I did 3 streams while I was there.
But I'm saying that night particular, because you went all day.
Yeah.
Then you went to the Harveys.
Yeah.
Then you did the live streaming. You were up doing that late. And then I'm watching and I'm like, dude, he's got to be up at the butt crack of dawn to do the freaking panel.
No, I got like 3 hours
we had a laundry list of things to do the next day. We had the interview with Rob was on Saturday.
No, Saturday. Yeah, Saturday was insane.
Yes,
like Saturday was insane.
So I'm like, he's gonna be a walking zombie.
That's what, because I called you that day. I went to my buddy's booth to see if I can get some Wi-Fi or whatever there, and I chatted. I'm like, I need a thing now, Tim. So I got this, and I got that, and I gotta go with this. We figured
it out, because dude, the Wi-Fi at the Javits every single Comic-Con is so bad.
Yeah, Saturday, because I didn't get to bed till like, by the time I showered and all that crap, I probably didn't get to bed till 3. Then I had to wake up around 7. I had to go, because I had to go over my notes for the next panel, because I had so much stuff that I didn't have time to like, I had to prepare for stuff like only hours before. Like I went over stuff over the plane and stuff like that. But like, you know what I mean? You want to be fresh in your mind. So you're going over, be like, okay, this is that. And I'm going over all my notes and questions and stuff. And then, you know, I had to do sound check, and then I had to find the room. And that's another thing. That was the funniest thing ever. I was like, I was texting my buddy. It's like, again, I won't mention any names, but I will just say they're not the convention. They're not the best at like getting talent in. You know what I mean? It's like I literally had to be like, look, they wouldn't let me in. I'm like, I'm moderating a panel. Like you have to let me in, because they're like, no, the floor is not open until 10. I'm like, look though. I am literally moderating the Transformers G.I. Joe panel in like an hour, and there's a sound check. Robert Kirkman, you heard of him? I got to get to that room on the 4th floor. And they're like, okay, fine, come in. I'm like, yeah. Like, what do you... I'm lucky.
That's what it took? Yeah. Like, you just had to convince them?
I had to be like, because I guess I don't know. They're not the best at like whatever.
Because you're supposed to have a specific entrance. And like this is where you go,
there's so many there's so many different badges too, and like some people, to be fair, there's a lot going on, so not all of the people at the doors know everything because there's so much stuff. So luckily for me, I had contacts of one of the people at Repop who like runs it, and once I got in, there's just checkpoints everywhere once you get into the floor. So once you're in, it's like dope, but you can't get into the floor because there's another checkpoint, or you can't get to the panels because there's another checkpoint. So I'm like, I'm gonna do this again. But I ran into one of the higher ups there that thankfully I've known for a few years now, and she's all like, "Oh no, I'll get you in." And she's just like, "Hey, I got a moderator to the panel, blah blah. His name's Arris. Can you let him into that checkpoint? He needs to get up to the panel in 30 minutes." And so she let me, and I was like, "Yeah, that's
pulling
right.
strings, flexing muscle."
So she worked her magic, and I wasn't late.
Well,
yeah,
it all worked out.
It did work out.
It was that was the one thing that I because I was really bummed that I couldn't be there for a myriad of reasons.
I'm surprised they don't have like if you're doing like because they should have like celebrity. Then you obviously have Artist Alley, but they should have like moderator badges.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they have so many panels, they should literally have a badge that says moderator or host.
Yeah, without question.
So it'd be like, see, I'm doing an event, let me in.
Yeah,
you know,
you should have specific badges that allow you in at certain points.
Right. They just have exhibitor badges and Artist Alley badges, which if you're an exhibitor, you can get in early because you're exhibiting on the floor, or if you're Artist Alley, but yeah.
Like for instance, at San Diego Comic-Con, they have very specific entrances for creators, press, things like that, to where you have to go to this door. Mm-hmm. And at that door, they know to look for people with this type of badge.
Yeah.
So that's what it should be.
Yeah. I will say though, like everyone was really friendly. It's like anything when you have such a big thing running, not everyone knows what's going on, but it all worked out. And like the Repop themselves, like like Camila,
they run a great con.
Yeah, they run a really good con. Yeah.
And Repop knows what they're doing.
They're very helpful.
Yeah, but like I said, I was bummed that I couldn't be there. But the one thing I did not miss was the dead man walking after the 3 days or whatever of walking 75 miles and running from this to that to this to that to this to that you experienced. Because when you fly home, the day you fly home, it's full system shut.
Well, because your adrenaline is done.
Yeah, everything.
Because like I didn't really get tired. It didn't hit you till the night, but then not even so much tonight because it's like, oh, I got this the next day because every day was something. So Sunday on the plane, it was like, oh, because then your brain and everything relaxes. You don't have to because you're always like, because if I do this stream, then my next thing is like, oh no, I got the panel. Yeah. And at the panel, it's like, oh, then I got this interview. So you're always like having to think about the next thing you're preparing for. So, but once there's nothing left to prepare for, your brain just can go boop, and then you're like, oh, I didn't eat for 10 hours, did I, dude? That was being there alone and not having someone like to spot you or like remind you to drink water or eat.
Yeah.
That was Saturday for me. I didn't eat anything. Nothing. Because I had the panel. I didn't have time to get food. Nothing. And then when I finally, by like 3 o'clock, when I was in the panel for Scott Snyder and Tom Hardy and I'm sitting down, my eyes, literally, I felt my eyes like a robot going like, or a camera lens going zzz, zzz, zooming in and out where I was like, they were getting like, I felt like woozy a little bit.
The Matrix took over?
Dude, and I was like, and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't eaten anything. I'm like, I got a little nervous. Like, am I gonna like fall over or something? I'm low on energy. I got a low, because I was like, oh, that's right. I've been up since 7 and I haven't eaten a single thing yet. And I've been because like the amount of steps, I've walked miles at that point.
You got to grab a bagel.
Yeah. I walked miles at that point and had like no food. So it's like literally running on empty, but it worked out. I got some empanadas downstairs and got some fuel.
New York City, baby.
Yeah.
It's one of the best places for food in the world.
Hot dog, get you hot. You want some sauerkraut?
Hot dog.
Yeah. Anyway, New York Comic Con was very, very busy and very, very fun. And
it was awesome to see, like, because it, like, you could see, like, even in the videos, it's like Comic Con is full blown back now. That was one of the things I was like super excited to see.
Can I tell you something?
It was packed.
I was talking with about this with some of my buddies that were there. Sunday, usually the dead day. Yeah. Everyone's leaving. It's the last day. It's the last day. So a lot of people are going home. Like I came home that day. A lot of people are taking their flights, going to the airport. It's just the last day. It's usually the most calm day. No. I was shocked. Legitimately, because I'm not the only one who said this. Several other people, my friends that were there, were like, I think Sunday was just as packed or more packed than Saturday.
Wow.
Because I had to go back to, I got an original art page for my book Astonishing Times from my artist who was there in Arris. So I had to go back to pick that up and do some last minute things, at the con. And when I went back, I was like, I'm expecting Sunday. It's going to be easy. That's why I left for the last day. Like, oh, it'll be easy. Walk real quick, do the last minute things and then head to the airport. It was slammed.
That's wild.
I couldn't believe it.
I wonder if that is the effect of like Comic-Con is back. The first full
I don't know.
bore, like everyone is fully back in business.
I was like, what is, because it also closes earlier on Sunday too.
Yeah.
This is the last day always. I'm like, what is happening? Because I was expecting to be like, oh, I'll be in and out. Nope.
I mean, you probably weren't able to get as many deals then on Sundays because that's usually the deal as far as comics go.
Probably, yeah.
That's the day you can usually try and get some deals.
But it was at PacCon. A lot of stuff a lot of stuff sold out on Thursday, first day.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was such a comic heavy. It was cool to see. It was, and that was one of the things you just mentioned. One of the last things I was going to bring up is during the con, to your shock and surprise, apparently, is that Kokin, Rise of the Kokin, Astonishing Times, Rise of the Kokin.
Oh, yes.
The next leg of Astonishing Times, the next phase of Astonishing Times is coming in January 2024. That actually got dropped and released during New York Comic-Con by Slash. Was it Slash?
Screen Rant.
Screen Rant. So what's up with that? Give us the rundown.
So as a co-creator of the series, you would all assume, oh, you knew they were going to do that. Incorrect. Incorrect. So like, it's funny, like, we were like, oh, clearly the creators are in the know. No, we had no idea. So we knew they were doing a press conference because we got invited to it, along with the 10 other books that are being launched on Comixology Original / Dark Horse. And, we did a little, so we literally had, it was funny. It was like, I felt like I was in school again in the sense that, because press is basically, you go in front of the press and you pitch your book. So me, Frank, and Rory had to do that and be like, this is volume 2, this is Kokin, and we all said a little thing. So it almost felt like you were doing a research paper and you had to present it to the class. Be like,
so
this is our character, Kokin. He's a cybernetic samurai, like that kind of thing. But anyway, just a normal press junket. But what we didn't know is that after that, they were going to announce when the book was dropping. We had no idea when the book was dropping.
Right.
Like there was tentative dates, but it kept getting pushed back for, comics. You know how things go. No one's fault in particular. Just things get pushed for whatever reasons. But I guess we didn't know just when it was going to be cemented in, and January. So we found out on January that that's when it's coming out.
We don't know a date.
No, we don't know.
We don't have a date yet. Just a month.
I'm going to find out this week, though. I'm going to find out this week.
And you can imagine me as producer of Variant. I'm like, what the freak?
Yeah.
So we didn't know that. And he's like, I didn't even know.
So it's out in the world. Volume 2 is happening. It's going to be a 5-issue solo series of Kokin on how he became the Kokin, his origin story, all that stuff. You can see the cover now on Screen Rant or on the internet. It's just out in the world now. So yeah.
I'm excited for that to come. We're going to be doing a bunch of stuff leading up to the release of the book.
Yes, I'm very, because now it's an established universe where hopefully you guys have read the first 5 issues of Astonishing Times. Now we're going back in time to talk about one of our favorite characters from the book and a lot of your favorite characters from the book.
I think it's your favorite character.
Kokin's is my favorite character. Yeah. I love it.
It's mine of the series as well.
Yeah, he's that brooding vigilante badass. It's just cool.
He's just a cool character. Yeah, the concept is cool. He looks great. Rory did an amazing job designing him. Yeah,
I'm excited for people to see. I mean, you see it on the cover a little bit, but this is his. This is like his original armor, so it's sleeker because he's when he's in his prime. So it's kind of like the Kokin you saw in Astonishing Times Volume 1. You can kind of compare that to like the Dark Knight Returns version of Kokin, where he's older, it's more thicker, stuff like this. We're going to see a younger Kokin, so his armor's very similar, but it's more sleek, more agile, and he's in his prime. He's in his like 20s.
Looking forward to it, man.
Yeah.
So if you guys aren't familiar with Astonishing Times, if you're not caught up, you don't really even know about the original series, you're in luck because we got an entire series on the main Variant channel. I'll actually just tag the entire playlist to this episode so you can see and you can get to know all the characters, the actual universe that it's in.
This time, we're going to drop merch and stuff with it too.
That's right.
We're going to drop merch, maybe some exclusive prints, ash cans, issues.
We're actually, because we didn't know when this was dropping yet, because that was all being still worked out with Comixology and stuff like that. Because Comixology and Dark Horse are the publishers and distributors of the book. It's not Variant.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So we were waiting on that. So now that we know like the first one is January, we're kind of strategizing on all that. So we'll be doing
What's really cool, a little insider at the con, Rory was there, so I was at his booth hanging out with him a lot of the time. He was in Arris Alley. We were kind of going over like what a cool, because Kokin is one of those characters where like he doesn't necessarily have a logo like a crest, like a Batman or something like that or a Superman. So we're going over, we're like, well, his like helmet is kind of like his silhouette is kind of like, you know how you recognize Batman by like his ears? We're like, well, that would be kind of cool. And he was kind of tweaking a little bit, like making his helmet, his silhouette, like that's kind of his logo. So we're toying with that already for things in the future, but also like merch and stuff like that. Like what could be his thing.
See like graffitied on walls and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. There's actually a video that I'm going to post soon that it was really funny. And one of the elevators we were in, it was dry erase boards. So I was like, Rory, quick, draw Kokin on there. And I took out my phone and he drew Kokin.
He did?
Yeah, I got the video of it. So I'm like, that's going to be fun.
That's hilarious. That's very
so
cool.
Somewhere in New York, Kokin was in a random elevator. May still be there if someone decided not to erase it.
Well, the one thing that you guys did do, and that we will actually be in one of the giveaways in the upcoming our first live stream on October 26th, is you guys dropped an ash can for the first issue, a New York Comic Con exclusive ash can.
First 11 pages of issue 1, and it's black and white because ash can. And I had Rory remark about 1 or 2 of them to give away here.
Sweet. So that's one of the many things that you guys can look forward to. We're going to be giving away, guys, legit thousands of dollars in comics and exclusives on the first live stream. So you do not want to miss it because it's all giveaways. That's all we're doing. We're not auctioning anything off. We're just giving away a bunch of crap. I got to push and promote my buddy too, the co-creator, Rory Coleman, because he's amazing. If you're not following him on Instagram and all that stuff, do that, Rory Coleman. It'll be like the first thing that comes up because he's also done like a lot of crazy stuff. He's doing. Yeah. He was talking to people and publishers at DC that going to be really cool in the coming year or so. Yeah, he's already done TMNT, Star Wars. He did Superman with Tom Taylor. I don't think I could say the next thing he's doing, but it's for one of the big 2. Safest not to.
Yeah, it's for one of the big 2. He's doing a few issues for that. And then he was in talks with some editors at some publishers that would be really cool, along with doing Astonishing Times. So, he's kind of good, is what I'm saying. Yeah. He's kind of good. Working with Tom Taylor and those guys is no joke. And it's amazing, too, because Rory already had, he was fairly established. Oh, but he did Astonishing Times and then just really took off. After Astonishing Times, he started doing, that's when he got like Superman. Yeah. He started doing just a ton of work and some really big projects. I'm excited for this. I couldn't be happier for him because he's such a good dude. I'm excited for the stuff that he was, because I was there when he was talking to someone at a big publisher. I'm like, dude, if you get that, that would be sick. It would be. I was like, I know what you're talking about, and yes, that would be very cool. Because like cool for you because you're my friend and buddy, but also cool for us because then we could say, blah, blah, blah artist is also doing Astonishing Times. Yeah, for real. I mean, we could already technically say Superman artist because he did. Yeah. That's out in the world. He already did several pages or / issues for Superman. So this will just add on top of that. Yeah. Super happy for him, man. Super happy. But overall, a ton of stuff happened at New York Comic Con. It was a great con for you. We had the launch of our whatnot. It was just a lot of cool things all the way around. So the next thing that everyone's probably like, are you guys going to talk about Loki? No, we're not. And I'm very excited to say why we're not talking about Loki. Because for once, I am not the one who has not seen it. Look. He has not seen it. I actually watched it the day it came out. Okay, it came out on Thursday. I was at New York Comic Con on Thursday. I forgive you for the Thursday. Okay. You had all day Monday, and you failed. I had, what? No, you were home. You had Monday. Says the guy who slacks me first thing. He's like, nice to have you back. Let's get back cracking the variant. But all the time in the world. I can't even. That's true. That happened. That did happen. It's like, hope you're not too tired. You got work to do. Yeah. So I can imagine it was like the whole like, dude, so I hate you. So tired. But like even at the con, because like, again, I would go from the con to like eating, then streaming, to preparing for panels. So like I'll watch it tonight. That'll happen. I'll watch it tonight. We'll next week we'll talk about episodes 2 and 3. Yeah. What I should have done is what I really should have done, but I forgot in the madness, is download it on my iPad and watch it on my flight home. But I forgot. Oh, true. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. Well, I thought it came out on Tuesday. I was still like on Ahsoka, thinking it came out on Tuesdays, and I'm like, oh no, this came out Thursday, like the first day of New York Comic Con.
I will say the one thing I say, and without talking about it, it was very good. Again,
that's not shocking.
It was very good again, and I honestly I watched it and I'm so enjoying it that I was like, this is probably going to be like generally universally liked. And I saw some people, they're kind of stereo, they're just kind of like their whole shtick is just to bash everything. But I saw some people bashing, but calling it like legit garbage. And I was like, what? Listen, you all let me know. Well, I'm going to put a poll on Loki. Are you guys digging Loki? Yay, nay.
Yeah. Right.
If with this episode, because I got to know what's the balance of that? Because I think it's great. Because the second episode was just as good as the first.
Right.
It built on it really well. So I need to know, because I saw some people bashing. I was like, what? This is actually one of the best things Marvel's put out in a hot minute. Which, by the way, on that same line of thought, we talked about last episode about whether we were getting, what was 2 episodes or whatever it was, about whether or not the Marvels was going to perform or not. And you were saying that the projections came out over the weekend. I didn't see them.
Oh yeah. The people who like track like the projections, they're just tracking it. They say it's on the track. It's tracking to flop and or lose Disney and Marvel money.
Well, I guess we'll see, but like if it's on that trajectory,
it really just
I was very much like, I really don't know which way this is going to go.
At this point, it has to be good because word of mouth. If it's tracking the thing, it could be saved if it's actually good, and then the word of mouth will get it.
Yeah,
too. But I mean, it's also not because like Blue Beetle, but maybe not even because Blue Beetle was a really good movie that tanked.
Yeah,
Flash I thought was good. Didn't deserve the hate it got, but understandably in a sense because Ezra
it had
like
problems.
Not the best human being, to say the least.
Yeah, it had lots of problems.
But like the last several superhero movies, whether DC or Marvel, have just been on a downtick. So
that's such a different animal though, because the audience was clearly sending a message to DC that they were done with the DCEU. So this is like the Marvels, isn't, it's also evidenced by the fact that the Marvel films have consistently outperformed. Performed way better than the DC films. The last few, I'm saying.
Guardians of the Galaxy did really well. I made around 800 million.
The only Marvel film that really did not do what would be considered well at the box office is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
It's going to be interesting, is considering the first one made $1 billion worldwide.
Yeah.
So could you imagine first one's $1 billion, this one
first Marvel's film.
First Marvel's film.
Or Captain Marvel.
That one made $1 billion. This one makes like 300,000 or $1 million.
That would be, what a contrast.
Because we talked about it 2 weeks ago or whatever. Like they're all in around 400 million.
Yeah.
So they got to make 400 million just to break even. Let's see.
Best of luck to you. They did drop over the weekend for New York Comic Con. They dropped a new trailer. The second trailer, I guess. I don't know if it's the final trailer or not, but they dropped a new trailer for the Marvels. And at the end of the trailer, you see Captain Marvel say, "I called a friend." And you see the Bifrost shoot into the back of their ship. Well, I assume is their ship. And, that obviously they're trying to generate some like, whoa, who's that going to be? Mm-hmm. It's probably going to be Jane Foster Thor.
Most likely.
That's both of our guesses, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's only 2 options. It's either going to be Jane Foster Thor or Thor.
But there was this little lingering thought in the back of my mind. It's 99.9% not going to happen. But like, what if they did introduce like a Beta Ray Bill there?
That would be a weird way. I hope that.
I think so too. But
yeah,
like, what if they throw a curveball? Because I mean,
that would be weird.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Jane Foster Thor. It's like whatever. But yeah, so they're definitely trying to generate some hype, but not feeling it.
We'll see. When does it come out again? It's
November 6th.
Do you know what I am?
It's the beginning of November.
Do you know what I am feeling? And I don't care who's judging me, because this is a wholesome family film or a series that I watch with my family.
Okay.
Tim Allen's Santa Claus Season 2 on Disney Plus.
Is that out?
It's coming out November 7th, I think. The second season starts on Disney Plus.
Cannot believe that got a second season.
It's so good. It's okay. Listen. It's not technically so good, but it also.
That's such a way to put it.
But if you love cheesy Christmas movies, if you grew up with the Santa Claus films and you got kids, and it's Christmas time, you're on the couch, hot chocolate. My daughters love it. My wife was obsessed with Tim Allen Santa Claus. It's like the Santa Claus is her favorite Christmas movie.
The first Santa Claus film is a classic.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I also like the other ones.
I watch those with our family watches those too, but this show is a definitive step down. And that is for those of you
I would say
who see the second and third.
I would say the first
statement.
season of the Santa Claus, which came out last year, is better than the third movie.
We didn't make it. Our house, we're fans of.
Look,
I'm not a fan. My kids are a fan of the third one. I'm like, whatever, I'll watch it. It's just like they're one of their things that they love. But we didn't make it past the first episode and a half of the show.
we all have our things.
Yes,
okay?
it's true.
We all have our
Totally
guilty
true.
pleasures or whatever. I love Tim Allen Santa Claus. I don't care if it's cheesy. I don't care whatever. I'm like,
That's fine.
I'm here for it. I want the Christmas cheer. I want to see my childhood Santa. He's my Santa.
That's my Santa.
You know, he's got kids now. His son's spoiler alert, his son's becoming the new Santa Claus.
Okay.
Okay.
It seemed like that was the direction.
It's
they were
great.
taking
You're
it.
seeing the passing of the torch for a new generation, and my kids get to see the transition.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Well, I'm tempted to give it another shot just to get into the Christmas spirit, but it probably won't.
Well, anyway.
The last thing I want to say is, I don't know. I did not know about this. I don't know how, but just before we came
I
on,
already know what you're going to say, yeah.
the freaking, what is the name of
Monarch.
it? No, what's the name of the show?
Monarch, Legacy and Monsters, I believe.
Legacy of Monsters?
Yeah, Legacy and Monsters.
Legacy and Monsters. The new Monsters universe. They're calling it
Legacy of Monsters.
Legacy of Monsters.
Yeah.
So what are they calling the universe again?
Monsterverse.
The monster. It is the Monsterverse?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought I was saying it. So that, I didn't know that was coming, but I love the Godzilla.
So good.
King Kong, Godzilla versus King Kong, but all the King Kong films. I love those.
So far it's the two Godzilla films, Kong, Skull Island,
Yep.
and Godzilla vs. Kong.
Kong.
Now this is a prequel series on Apple Plus that will tell us how Monarch formed in the first place. And then that will lead into the new I keep calling Kong Godzilla movie.
Because I had heard a long time ago that they were going to do something, that they were making a show, but I didn't know it was already like done. But it comes out mid-November.
November 17th.
And the trailer looks awesome.
No, it looks like the movies.
So we were talking, that's what we were we were saying, like,
It's so
is this as good or at least more interesting right now than what Marvel's doing? Definitely DC.
For me, yeah, I'm more excited for this Monsterverse than the MCU currently.
It looks
that could change depending on what happens, you know, because Loki's really good. So if they keep going back on the uptick, that can change. But I also I would say like the Monsterverse and Kaijus are in my top 5. Like obviously it would be like DC, Marvel, Star Wars. That's like my trinity. But then after that, it's probably like, you know, Godzilla, Kaijus, and then like Universal Monster type stuff.
That's a solid lineup.
You know, TMNT might be in there too. But then I don't know. I love the Universal Monsters and Godzilla stuff.
Yeah.
So that's probably my top 5.
So I'm stoked for that.
Yeah.
I'm stoked for that. We're at least getting one more solid show this year. Now that I know that that's coming.
For sure. Santa Claus season 2. We just went over this.
We just covered this. Whatever.
Bringing joy to living rooms everywhere.
Sure,
Deck
man.
the halls with. I'm kind of.
Don't get Christmassy
I'm kind of
yet.
excited.
It's not even Halloween yet.
I am in full on spooky mode though. That's why I didn't watch Loki.
Spooky dookie?
Spooky mode. That's why I watched Loki on the plane because I was watching horror movies on the plane. I'm going.
Oh yeah,
through.
you watched Jennifer's Body.
I watched Jennifer's Body. I watched Totally Killer. I watched all the Halloween films. I'm going on to Netflix. The Exorcist next.
Oh wow.
I've never seen the first Exorcist.
We watched the Quiet Place movies over the weekend.
Those are good. Those are good.
My
I want to go back to Child's Play.
Slasher.
Totally Killer was all right. It's like
I've never seen that.
It's new to Prime Video. Think of it
It's
like
Prime, right?
Back to the Future meets Halloween. So the whole premise is this serial killer in a mask, like Mike Myers, kills the main girl's mom. So her friend makes a time machine. It's cheesy, but it's kind of, you know, it's like a stereotypical, like, you know, they're supposed to be a little cheesy.
Okay.
Just to go back in time to stop the serial killer. So in the present, he doesn't kill her mom. And it's got like Halloween Mike Myers vibes, Back to the Future.
That's an interesting concept.
It's kind of like Scream and stuff like that. It's kind of like, it falls in line with like Scream, like Jennifer's Body and stuff where like those stereotypical like teenager like movies. They're of the 2000s where like their emo band music's playing and stuff like that. And it's like kind of just brings you back. You're like,
kind of dark comedy?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
It's on, if you have Prime Video, just watch it. You can watch it with Prime Video. Yeah.
Well,
there you go.
There we go. Let the Halloween lineup continue.
Well, I think that brings today's podcast to a close.
It does indeed. Go get set up with Whatnot, Variants Whatnot. Don't miss out on the giveaways, guys. They're going to be good.
For sure. And we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.